Hey guys, Rick Stone here from the blog Our Stoney Acres and the online gardening school. Welcome to 5 Minute Fridays, my video series where I try and give you a valuable gardening tip in 5 minutes or less. Before we get started this week, please make sure that you like my Stoney Acres Facebook page, or if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, this week it is finally the first nice, cool day that we've had this fall. So up until now we've been in the mid to high 80s, and all of a sudden here we are, 77 degrees, much nicer, and temperatures tonight are actually going to be in the high 40s, which has got me thinking about frost. Now we're not going to have frost tonight, it's not cold enough yet, but we're probably 2 weeks away from the first frost in our area, and so it's time to actually start thinking about frost and how I can protect my warm season vegetables from some of these early frosts that are going to come in. Because if you're like me, it happens every year. You end up having like 1 or 2 cold nights towards the end of September, early part of October, and then it warms back up again to like 75 degrees and everything is just beautiful. And had I not lost my tomatoes when it got frosty, I would have had all these extra weeks to ripen my green tomatoes and get a better harvest. But it always seems to happen that way. So over the years I've tried several different methods to protect my tomatoes and some of my other warm season crops from those early frosts. I've tried bed sheets, I've tried plastic, like that painter's plastic, and both of those work okay if it's a light frost, but if you have a heavy frost, then you're in trouble. So the thing that I have found that is really good for protecting your tomatoes and other warm season crops is this stuff, and this is fabric row cover. If you look really close at it, it's kind of a spun, I think it's a spun polypropylene, if I'm even saying that right, I'm probably not. But it's a fantastic material that does a really, really good job of protecting your crops down to, maybe 6, maybe even 8 degrees below freezing, depending on the crop. And what you want to do is you want to look for fabric row cover that is called a frost blanket, okay? So look specifically when you're looking at the fabric row cover, make sure that it uses those words, frost blanket or frost protection. Usually the manufacturers will also kind of tell you what the level of frost protection is, 4 to 6 degrees, maybe 6 to 8 degrees, something like that. You want to look for those heavier materials because you don't just want a light fabric row cover that's usually used just for a light frost and to keep pests out. Instead, you want this good thick stuff that's going to really protect your crops. And then basically what you need to do is just throw that on your crops when there is a threat of frost. Now you don't want to leave it on all the time. This is thick and it's going to keep the sun out, and so you want to make sure that you're not leaving it on your crops all the time, but instead you just put it out as needed when you're going to have a cool night that might have a threat of frost. And for us, if the forecast says it's going to be 40 degrees or below, then I usually go ahead and put my fabric row cover out just in case, because I don't want to have my local area happen to be a little colder than the forecast and have frost. So that's kind of my target. If it says it's going to be below 40, I put the fabric row cover out. Basically, you just throw it on, and then I use either some clothesline clips or maybe a few wood clamps or something like that to clip that fabric row cover onto something, whether it's the tomato cages or the heavier vines or something. Basically what you're trying to do there is to make sure that you don't have that blowing away in the wind, because then it'll blow away in the wind, and at 4 o'clock in the morning the frost will come in and you're toast anyway. So do something to secure it down to your plants. And usually they're so big, I mean, look right now, these are my tomatoes back here. They're so big and tall that you're not going to be able to cover the whole plant. So you want to focus on covering the central part of the plant. That way that'll be protected, and that'll still leave plenty of fruit, and it'll also leave plenty of leaf area so that when you take those off the next day, there's still plenty of stuff going on in that plant to be able to get those tomatoes or squash or cucumbers or whatever it is to come to full maturity and to ripen this fall. So that's basically what I do. Now you can get this stuff, usually any good like garden nursery should have these this time of year. Even some of the big box stores will have fabric row cover in stock occasionally. If you can't find it locally, I'll include a link down in the description that'll take you out to Amazon, and you can buy it there as well. Lots of different sizes and different lengths, so just buy what you need for your garden and then throw it over and protect those plants. All right, so that's all I have for you for this week. If you're interested in learning more about extending your growing season and stretching out that growing season, both of your warm season crops and also cool season crops, then I would suggest that you take a look at my year-round gardening course. And you can find a link down in the description that will take you to the online gardening school, where you can learn more about extending your growing season and stretching out that season until you're actually going 365 days a year. In almost any gardening zone, you can do that. So go down, take a look. That link will take you to the course and actually give you a half off coupon on that as well. So go take a look at that. All right, that's all I have for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. We'll be back next week with more fall gardening advice. Happy gardening.